I have a question for the superintendent.
You have a
Thank you,
question?
yeah. The tripod contract is being withheld from public disclosure, and we're hearing that it's under legal review, and I guess our lawyer lives in Antarctica because it's going to take him 3 months or 3 weeks to review the contract. So I find this a completely unacceptable state of affairs.
First of all, okay,
It's not personnel.
yeah,
I would like to know from the superintendent why it's going to take 3 weeks and why he thinks that the tripod contract is not subject to public disclosure.
okay. Well, before the superintendent, let me take a first shot at it, then you can clarify for me. This tripod contract is confidential, stamped all over it. This is available for viewing for school board members in a non-public type thing. It's Attorney O'Shaughnessy's reached out to this company to see what is confidential about these matters, to see how fast this can be released for public review. Does that sound about right?
That's correct.
Well, how come as a school board member I haven't been told I have an opportunity to look at this contract?
I
And I
just,
requested it a week ago.
okay, that was disclosed to me at about, I don't know, sometime today. So when if a school board member wants to review that contract, we can make that happen. You can review the contract. It's a confidential document as far as we know right now. It's not the property of this district. That's the problem with why you can't, that was not Timberland that stamped confidential on it, that was that company that stamped it.
Which brings up, oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna, just to clarify, so we'd be able to set up an appointment to go down and view it, we wouldn't have to file a right-to-know request?
If you file a right-to-know request, it'll be treated as a right-to-know request. If you make
Well, I
a,
just-
if you make a request as a school board member, then that's different.
Right, well, I just want to make sure that if I want to come down and view it, I could view it.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to take it out of the building,
No.
right?
No,
You
you
can't
can't.
photocopy it.
Yeah.
You can't write anything about it on
Yeah,
social media.
whatever.
You
So it's
can't-
just,
No,
so it's
no, I wouldn't
confidential
have any
information
need to
until we
do
know
that.
any different, that's all.
Okay, so from a governance point of view, this is a completely unacceptable state of affairs. Every other district that I know of writes their own contracts and
This is an
and
existing
has the
contract.
vendor sign the district's contract, and then the vendor can have the district sign their contract.
Donna?
But there is always 2 contracts in every district that I go online and look at. There's the vendor contract and there's the school district contract. For exactly this reason, this is an outrageous state of affairs that
I
the
know,
public
so-
cannot know. And for weeks, we couldn't
Wait a
know
minute, wait
what a
minute.
contract was.
First of all, the public cannot know today, tonight, until we find out what the deal is with this confidential statement. It's not the property of Timberlands. Once that is lifted, then anyone in the public can know. There's a bunch of sensitive information in this building that the public can't know.
Yeah, a lot.
You know? So it's,
is what it
and as far as, this tripod contract was written 4 or 5 years ago. When was this written?
We've had several contracts with them over the
So-
time, in addition to the extension.
It didn't just occur, so I know there's been some concern about this subject matter. The people who serve on the school board obviously have rights, if you will, availability to review that type of confidential information in this building. The general public are just gonna have to wait, whatever it is, you know, whether it takes a few days or a week, you know, because there's something on there that triggered that. So I was copied in a letter that went from Attorney O'Shaughnessy, I believe, to you, just asking for tripods release, basically.
Yeah.
So they're trying to, I can't speak for, I don't know what is in that information, that, on that contract, that tripod is, I have no idea why they have it confidential.
We expect Tripod to hold our information confidential, and we hold their information confidential. You will be happy to know that on the phone today, I asked them, I said, well, listen, when you send out the questions but tell us we can't, I go, why can't we send them out? That's not helpful. I go, when you tell Bedford they can post something but you tell us not to, I go, that's not helpful. Well, and ours clearly tells us what we can and can't do and why, so.
But do
I
they have
know
the same contract?
they're not the
Chamberlain and
same.
Bedford?
They must
All-
not.
Contracts are all different.
Yeah.
And I know she doesn't work the district anymore. I know Deb Armfield asked those questions and was told, no, you can't do that, right? That's in the contract. So, we have a policy, obviously, about vendors holding our information confidential, and we hold theirs, non-disclosure agreements that we have. And so, I know people get concerned with legal fees, but, what legal fees you want to pay? You want to pay legal fees when Tripod sues us for releasing confidential information, or do we want to pay the legal fees to properly review, redact, and release what we can? I'm
Well-
going to tell you that the latter of those two comments is probably a lot less expensive than what it would cost.
Where I do share Mrs. Green's concern is, and I can't go back in time, something triggered that for them to put confidential on it. And I would think we would want to know that, so, I don't know what that,
Well, it's something to look at going forward.
yeah,
Yep.
exactly. So it's something triggered that company to do that, and,
That's why we have the attorney looking at it.
no, I understand. I'm talking about for future contracts, that I can clearly understand. I'm glad we were able to do that whole special ed review without mentioning anything that was very positive, but,
I think you would find it wouldn't be unusual if we were able to negotiate a price that was far less than what other districts were paying, that they wouldn't want us releasing what we're paying, so that everybody gets that rate. That would be an example of something that they probably wouldn't be real comfortable with, or if there are other terms in there. I mean, that's why we're having legal review it, to see. I had that question, it blew my mind when I saw the Bedford one, and all the questions are online. I'm like, what's the big deal with us posting the questions? I don't get it.
I don't think that they have all the questions online.
Oh, there's just some of them? Yeah,
there's
maybe they
some of
agreed to
them.
some of the questions, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I clicked on the three
They didn't
links.
have the motivational mindsets on there. There was some,
That was a confidential, yeah.
Yeah,
It looked
well,
like they
those-
were the optional demographic stuff was.
Yeah, I know it wasn't the complete, but they let them
Right.
post some. They told us they couldn't post any of the questions.
that's in
It's
the
like-
So it's
contract.
gotta be their agreements.
okay, all right.
So, continuing on tripod, the middle school took the tripod survey. Was that with or without the so-called non-academic questions included?
The background questions, we don't believe there are any non-academic. There's background questions. You have a policy, ILD, which I've determined it to be an academic survey, and that's the way it's been.
So
Release.
my question is, was the middle school survey given in its complete form, or were some
I
questions
think that's a yes.
withheld?
I don't know, I'll have to see where they are in their administration of that. I don't have that information with me. Wasn't.
That is an insubordinate question again.
Okay,
That is a completely insubordinate question. The answer is yes or no. Was the
You
survey
wanna know what
given
I
in
had for
its
lunch
full
too, Donna?
form, or
I
wasn't
had
it?
I had vegetable
Donna,
soup, it
enough.
was delicious.
that's a very poor use of the word insubordinate.
No,
So-
it's a completely accurate use.
We said it was a question. He didn't ask you a question.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, it is for the state.
All right.
You good?
There's no other business in front of the board here
We
tonight.
should take care of some of these minutes, really.